together. Get your fingers nice and warm. Now warm up your ears so they can hear really good. Now while your fingers are still warm, we're going to put them on our mouth so our mouth stays closed. But we're going to get to actually move around with this story, okay? This story is called Beaky. And Beaky had a problem. Beaky didn't exactly know what he was. Now Beaky come out of, what does it look like Beaky came out of? An egg. So what kind of animal a lot of times comes out of an egg? A bird. Well, one day an egg tumbled down through the leaves and branches and it shattered into pieces on the floor of the forest. Out popped a fluffy creature with a bright blue beak and a curly orange tail. "Hello," croaked the frog, jumping up from behind the bush. "I'm a frog. What are you?" The creature looked confused. Let's see your confused look. "You don't know what you are?" The creature shook its head. "Well, then you can be my friend. I'll call you Beaky, and let's go for a walk." "Am I a frog?" asked Beaky as they hopped along. All right, frogs hop. So in our seat, let's kind of hop up and down like a frog. We're hopping like a frog. If you were a frog, then you'd be able to hop as high as me, and you wouldn't have those funny fluffy flap things there. "Well, if I'm not a frog, then what am I?" "I don't know," said the frog. "I've never seen anything like you before. But you must be something, because everything is something." Before long, they found a snake. "What is he doing?" said Beaky. "Slithering." So let's slither like a snake. Slither, slither like a little snake. Precisely. It's very simple. It's splendid. You should try it yourself. Slithering is splendid. "Yes, it is. Try it," said Frog. So Beaky lay down on the earth, and he tried to slither. And he couldn't slither as good as y'all could. Nothing happened. "Oh dear," said the frog. "Too short," said the snake. And the snake slithered off in the trees. Beaky and Frog went to the river, where they found fish gliding in the water. Let's see, how does that fish glide in the water? He just glides in the water like that. "What is he doing?" said Beaky. "I'm swimming," said Fish. "Come and join me. The water is lovely." "Good idea," said Frog, thinking that Beaky might be some kind of a fish. "Try and swim." Well, Beaky splashed and splished and flipped and flapped, but he couldn't swim a stroke. "Oh dear," said the frog. Fish kind of giggled. "He's too fluffy," and swam away. "Everybody knows what he is except me," sighed Beaky. And then he heard something singing softly, very far away. "Did you hear that?" he said excitedly. "Hear what?" said the frog. "Listen," said Beaky. "It's coming from up there." Frog looked up to the top of the trees, and then he heard it too. "Somebody up there must be really happy," said Beaky, "to sing such a joyful song. Do you think I could ever be that happy?" "Well, maybe," said the frog, "but not until we discover what you are." Then he had an idea. "Let's climb up there and see if we can find out what it is." So up they went. Start climbing. It's a tall tree. They climbed higher, and they climbed higher. And then the higher they got, the more frightened the frog got. See his frightened frog face? Ooh. So Beaky had to go on alone. On and on he hopped up all through the day and into the night until he could just go no further. "Now I'm lost," cried Beaky, "and I still haven't found out what I am. Maybe I should have never left the forest floor. Perhaps that song I heard was just a dream." And with that thought in his mind, he slept. Let's see. Okay, wake up. Beaky woke the next morning to find the sound of that familiar song. Looking around, he saw circling in the air the most beautiful, fluffy creatures with a bright blue beak and a beautiful curly orange tail. "What are you?" called Beaky. "I'm a bird," said the creature. "I'm a bird of paradise." "A bird," said Beaky. "That's what I am." In his excitement, he jumped. Let's jump like a happy bird. He jumped, and he skipped, and he dipped, and he strutted, and he bobbed, and he trotted, and he tripped. Oh no, he's so high up. Down he fell, down, down, crashing through the leaves and branches toward the earth below. Flap your wings, called the bird. Flap your wings. Let's see y'all flap your wings without knocking your partner over. Beaky opened his little fluffy flaps. My wings, he cried. These are wings? And with a whoosh, he began to fly up past the tree where the snake was slithering, down to the river where the fish was swimming, and back to the vine where his friend the frog was still waiting. Frog, said Beaky, look at me. I can't slither, I can't swim, I can't hop like you, but I can fly. And at that moment, Beaky heard the singing once more, and it seemed to be calling to just him. I must go, he said, but I will come back and visit. And then he flew up, up, up to the treetops. Beaky, called Frog, you haven't told me what you are. I'm a bird, cried Beaky. I'm a bird of paradise.
This is a beautiful book about birds. Birds come in all sizes, shapes, and colors. Birds are magic. Birds are everywhere. If you listen very carefully, you will hear them, no matter where you live. And if you look very closely, you will see them, no matter where you are. And if you can't go outside right this minute, you can always read this book. In the morning, I hear birds singing through the open window. Do you know what kind of bird that might be? Maybe it's a robin.
Robin paradise.
A bird of paradise? Maybe. Birds can be yellow, or blue, or brown, or red, or even green, I think. Aren't they beautiful? Sometimes they are so black you can't see their eyes or their feathers, just their shapes. The shape is like the outline, like the shadow. Birds can be big or any size in between. That one's so big it won't even fit on the page. And there's a little one, and you might see these out your window. Once I saw 7 birds on a telephone wire, and they didn't move, and they didn't move. And I looked away for just a second, and they were gone. If birds made marks with their tail feathers when they flew, think what the sky would look like. If clouds were birds, the sky would look like this, or this. Sometimes in winter, a bird in a tree looks like one red leaf left over. There he is, right there. If there are lots of birds in one tree and they all fly away at the same time, it looks like the tree yelled, "Surprise!" If I were a bird, I'd ask where all the other birds go when it's stormy and they can't go home to their nests. Where do you think the birds might go? I like to pretend I'm a bird. I can't really fly, but I can do this. What could we all do? We could do this. I can sing.
The story I'm going to read this morning is called In the Nest. See the nest right here? Everybody see the nest? And this is by Anna Milbourne. All day long, a little bird flies to and fro. What do you think she's doing? She's carrying twigs to the cherry tree. She weaves the twigs around and around to make a tidy nest. Then she lays 5 speckled eggs inside and snuggles up to keep them warm. You see the eggs in the nest? Can everybody see the eggs?
What about those eggs?
Those eggs right there, do you see them? Tucked away inside the nest, the little bird's eggs are safe from harm. A hungry fox would like to gobble them up, but he can't reach that high. There's another nest in the cherry tree. It's hidden away inside the trunk. You see the bird sticking out of the trunk? And there's one in the muddy riverbank too, right over here. This one's in the river, right? The little bird sits on her eggs and waits. She doesn't leave the nest, not even when she's hungry. The father bird brings seeds for her to eat. One day, there's a tap, tap, tap. Quickly, the little bird hops off the nest. The first tiny baby cracks out of his egg. He doesn't look much like a bird. His eyes are shut tight, and he doesn't have a single feather. All the other babies hatch out too. They open their beaks wide and squawk for food. Their mother and father bring juicy bugs. Ooh, yummy, huh? The babies gulp them down and squawk for more. They're hungry, right? Right? Squawk! Soon the baby birds grow fluffy feathers. They open their eyes and they look around. They grow bigger and bigger until they're much too squashed in the nest. One of the babies flaps his wings. Come on, flap, flap. Can you flap your wings? Flap. He flaps and he flaps, but he doesn't take off. So he jumps off the nest and flaps some more. He's flying for the very first time. Before long, the other baby birds start flying too. They swoop and they soar up, up, and away. All the little birds have gone, but maybe one will come back next year.
This is called Owl Moon. Everybody ready to listen? It's by Jane Yolen. It was a late winter night, long past your bedtime, when my pa and I, we went owling. There was no wind, and the trees stood still like giant statues. And the moon was so bright that the sky seemed to shine. Somewhere behind us, a train whistled in the background, long and low. I could hear it through the little woolen hat I had put down over my ears. A farm dog answered the train, then a second dog joined in. They all made noise, the dogs in the train. And then after a while, their voices faded as me and Pa walked on into the woods. Our feet crunched the crisp snow, leaving little gray footprints. Daddy made a long shadow, but mine was shorter. Every once in a while, I had to run to keep up. But I never said anything, because when you go owling, you have to be very, very quiet. That's what Pa says. I had been wanting to go owling with Pa for a long time. When we reached the pine trees that were all black and pointy up against the sky, my Pa put his hand up and he stopped and he waited and he made a noise. Pa went, hoo, 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 hoo. That was the sound of a great horned owl. Again he called out and again, and after each time I stood really still and waited, but there was no answer. Pa shrugged and I shrugged, and I wasn't disappointed because he said sometimes there is an owl and sometimes there's not. We kept on walking and I could feel my feet getting kind of cold and my nose was getting cold, but I never said a word because when you go owling, you have to be very, very quiet. That's what Daddy said. We went into the woods where the shadows were kind of black and it did look kind of like night, and my mouth was kind of dry, and I didn't ask what kind of things hid in those trees at night, because when you go owling, you also have to be very brave. Then we came to a clearing in the dark woods, and the moon was so bright above us, it looked just like daylight. The snow was just as white as the milk in a bowl of cereal. Dad held up his hand again. He put the mitten, I put my mittens over my mouth and listened hard, and then Pa called again, hoo, hoo, I listened and I looked so hard, my ears hurt from trying to listen. And my eyes got kind of cloudy with the cold. And Pa raised his hands to call again. But before he could say a noise, the sound came through the trees. Hoo, hoo,
That was the owl.
hoo, hoo,
Owl.
hoo, hoo. Pa almost smiled, but then he called back, hoo, 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 hoo. Just as if the owl and him was talking about what they was going to have for supper, or about the moon, or about the cold. I took off my mitten, I took off my scarf, and I almost smiled too. The owl's call came closer from high up in the trees. Nothing in the meadow moved. All of a sudden, an owl shadow, part of the big tree, it lifted off and it flew right over us. We watched very silently. We could hear our hearts beating, but we didn't say anything because you have to be quiet when you go owling. Pa turned on his big flashlight and caught the owl just as it was landing on a branch. I bet that looked a little bit scary, huh? Big bird. For 1 minute or 3 minutes, or maybe it was even 100 minutes, we just stared at each other. I bet he could do some serious staring with them big eyes, couldn't he? Yes. Then the owl pumped his great wings and lifted off the branch like a shadow. It flew without a sound. Dad says their wings were specially designed for that. Back into the forest the owl went. Time to go home, Pa said. I knew I could talk, or I could even laugh out loud then, but I was just a shadow, and so I walked home. When you go owling, you don't need words or warmth or anything but hope. That's what Pa says, the kind of hope that flies on silent wings under a shining owl moon.
Who's ready to hear a fun story? There's a man getting ready for bed, and he says, "Oh, good, it's you. Listen, it's getting late, and I need to brush my teeth. Can you do me a favor? Don't let the pigeon stay up late." And then he says, "Thanks. First of all," this is the pigeon, and this is what the pigeon says. "First of all, I'm not even tired." Did you ever say that? I'm not tired. In fact, I'm in the mood for a hot dog party. What do you say? No? Says the pigeon. I hear there's a good show about birds on TV tonight. Should be very educational. How about 5 more minutes? I remember hearing that. Come on, what's 5 minutes in the grand scheme of things? And I was starting to yawn. He goes, yawn. What? What? I'm not tired. You know, says the pigeon, we never get to talk anymore. Tell me about your day. Oh, I've got a great idea. We could count the stars. Can I have a glass of water? Studies show that pigeons hardly ever need any sleep at all. It's the middle of the day in China. This is what all the excuse is. I'll go to bed early tomorrow night instead. You think that's going to work? Hey, hey, ho, ho, this here pigeon just won't go. There he is, like a cheer. Please. And he's got a bunny. He says, my bunny wants to stay up too. You can't say no to a bunny, can you?
No.
That's a big yawn. You think the pigeon's getting tired by now? Okay, that was not a yawn, he says. I was just stretching. Like stretch, everybody stretch. Oh, that's what he was doing. He's not tired, he was just stretching. I'm 110% awake. Look at his eyes are starting to close. You haven't heard the last of me, he says as he yawns. Zzz, do you know what that means? He's fallen asleep. And the man comes back and says, great work, thanks. Good night.
So this is the bird alphabet book by Jerry Pallotta. Who knows the first letter of the alphabet? What's the Good job. Okay. What's that? There's an A. A is for the Atlantic puffin. They live in the ocean most of the year. They nest on land in colonies. What is this letter? B. B is for a bat. What can he, look at the bat. What does he do? Do you see how he's sleeping in that picture? The bat is hanging upside down, but they're not birds. They're actually animals. Get out of this book, you bats. Now that the bats are gone, you see them flying away. They fly at nighttime. Bats sleep during the day, and they fly at night. Now that the bats are gone, let's find a bird whose name begins with the letter B. A bird. Bats are not birds. What is that again? There's a B again. B is for blue-footed booby. Boobies are seabirds. It's a pretty funny name, isn't it? Yeah. And they eat fish by diving into the ocean. Who can tell me what this letter is? What is it? A C. Are you waving to the baby? Well, this is for a crocodile bird. C is also for crocodile, but the crocodile bird eats something to eat, and he cleans the crocodile's teeth. Who wants that job? Yeah, really? Not me. You're braver than I am.
What's the next letter?
What's the next letter? What comes after C? A, B, D. Good job. D is for ducks. Who can make the sound a duck makes? Quack, 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 quack. Yeah. There are all kinds. Okay. There's all kinds of different kinds of ducks. There's wood ducks and mallard ducks and mashed ducks and ring-necked ducks and many, many more. What's the next letter?
E.
E. E is for eagle. Who's seen an eagle? Have you seen an eagle? They're hard to spot sometimes. That eagle right there is called a bald head eagle because his head looks like he doesn't have any hair on it. The bald eagle is the national emblem of the United States. That's our United States bird. What's this letter? F. F is for flamingo. Flamingos have very long necks and very long legs. Their beaks are curved, and sometimes they like to stand on one leg. Okay, everybody's getting fidgety. Everybody stand up. We're going to pretend we're flamingos. Everybody, now watch out. Can you stand on one leg? One leg. Good job. Wow, look at all the flamingos we have in here. Good job. Okay, everybody sit back down. Back in the nest. Okay, what letter is that? Can any... G. G is for gosling. Goslings are baby geese. Now, we see lots of geese around here, don't we?
No.
Can anybody tell me what this letter is? H. Very, very good. H is for hummingbird. Shh. Shh. Very quiet. Very quiet. Hummingbirds are very, very tiny birds. And did you know if you're lucky enough to see a hummingbird, you can actually hear their wings beating. And they go, that's how they sound. Can you do? Hummingbirds are tiny birds that fly really fast. What's this letter? I. I is for indigo bunting. Indigo is a color. And what color do you think that is? What color? Blue. The male indigo bunting is a beautifully bright blue bird from his head to his toes. What's this letter?
J.
J. Good job, William. J is for jacana. Now, I've never heard of this bird. What big feet. Jacanas have feet that are just right for standing on lily pads.
Lily pad.
Yes. Who can tell me what this letter is?
K.
K. Good job. Good job. K is for kiwi. Kiwi. The kiwi is a bird that cannot fly. It has wings, just like a bird. Listen to the story. And it lays eggs, and it has a beak, and it has feathers, just like other birds. But it wants to go somewhere. If it wants to go somewhere, it has to walk. It has to walk, even though it has wings. Can anybody tell me what this letter is? No. L. Very good. That's an L. L is for a lovebird. What are the birds doing in this picture right here? What are they doing? They're loving each other. Yes, they are. These birds are very colorful. They're called lovebirds because they like to sit close together. They usually look like they're hugging and kissing each other. How about that? Yeah, I know. What is this letter? Good job, M. M is for meadowlark. Meadowlarks build their nests on the ground. That sounds kind of unsafe to me for birds. People love meadowlarks because they sing cheerfully for hours at a time. What's this letter? N. Can everybody see the N? Okay. N is for northern cardinal. Did you know there's more than one kind of cardinal? N is for northern cardinal. This is one of the few birds that is almost entirely red. Sometimes it's simply called a red bird. Red bird. What's this letter? Yeah, good job. O is for oyster catcher. Oyster catcher. This bird is able to stick its beak into oysters and clams and open them up. There's a shell right down here. Can you see the shell? So he sticks his beak in there and he opens the shell up and he eats the little animal that's inside.
Like crabs?
Well, kind of like crabs, but this one's a bird. This book's coming apart. Okay, what's this? What's P? Can you tell me what P is for?
Penguin.
Penguin, that's right. P is for penguin. Penguins cannot fly in the sky. It's fun to watch them swim because they look like they're flying when they're underwater. Has anybody seen a show with a penguin in it and seen them flying under the water? Flying. Can anybody tell me what this letter is? Q. Very good. Q is for quetzal. The quetzal is a bright green bird with an extremely long tail. He is found in Central America. There are very few birds like this bird, and so it's called endangered. Endangered means that it could possibly be gone all from the earth altogether, all gone. What's this letter? R, very good. R is for roadrunner. Roadrunner. Roadrunners can fly when they want to, but they usually prefer to run. And so they fly on the ground. That's what roadrunners do. What's this letter? Good job, S. S is for spoonbill. Now, can you see that bird? The bill is his beak. Does it look like a spoon?
No.
It doesn't? Oh, well, I think it does. You see right there? S is for spoonbill. Can you believe it? This bird has a bill that looks like a spoon. The baby spoonbills do not grow their wide spoon-shaped bill until they get older. So when they're born, they have a normal kind of beak. But then when they get big, they have a spoon beak. Okay? T is for toucan. T is for toucan. The toucan has a very long and wide beak. It comes out like this. Very big beak. Toucan would not be able to fly. However, the beak is not very heavy, so it really does fly. U is for umbrella bird. This black bird has feathers that when they come out, it looks like an umbrella. When it rains, the umbrella does not keep its head dry, though, because he's flying, right? What's this letter? V, that's right. V is for vulture. Vultures have hardly any feathers on their heads. Maybe vultures are birds, they should be called bald, right? Like the bald eagle. See this? Almost no feathers, but look how big he is. What's this letter?
W.
W. W is for white-faced Scoops owl. Now, Miss Phyllis read a book. Was it Miss Phyllis or Miss Mary? Miss Mary read the book about the owl. This owl lives in Africa. It hides in trees, waiting to swoop down and get its food. What's this? X. X is for Xenops. This is probably the only bird that begins with an X. Unlike most birds, it has a beak that curves upward. Most of the other birds have their beaks that go down like this. This one's beak goes up. Strange. Y is for yellow-bellied sapsucker. It has a tongue with a brush-like tip. And last but not least, what's that letter? Z. Z is for zillions of zebra finches. These Australian birds have pretty black and white striped tails, so they look like a zebra, right? The end. All done.